Today we're going to talk about accident accident prevention plans or programs and safety orientations. I couple these together for for a reason, because really when you're doing a safety orientation, what you should be discussing are the basic points of your accident prevention program or accident prevention plan. So that's why I couple these two together. What we're going to go over today is your APP, compliance, what's required, which for me is kind of the baseline. Anytime we talk about compliance, I understand why we talk about it, but the reality is that strong safety cultures go way above and beyond compliance. But we will talk about the rules of your APP, why it should be custom tailored to your company, the basic components, and then the resources available to you through both like the LNI website and ABC as well. And then we're going to jump in briefly. It's a little bit less of a time topic, the safety orientations, what those should look like, why they should be what I call formal. We'll describe that, define that a little bit. And then one of my favorite topics when it comes to safety orientations is what I call the right responsibility speech. And I'll go over that. And then I'll talk about some of the effective culture components of a strong safety orientation. Okay. So again, anybody else that's just coming in, welcome. Please just interrupt if you have any questions, or I prefer this to be more of a roundtable discussion. So let's get going. All right. Okay, come on, computer. Okay, there we go. Let me fix one more thing there real quick. Okay, your accident prevention plan. Let's talk about compliance a little bit. So the WAC 296-800-140 says you must establish, supervise, and enforce an accident prevention program that is effective in practice. That is the exact wording of that Washington Administrative Code. Let's break down that sentence for a second because there's a lot to unpack there. And the reason I have that little figure in the upper right-hand corner is that this is not just a three-ring binder safety manual, something in a cloud-based system. So many people, when I say, or even myself, I think of APP, I think of a Bible, a safety manual, a stack of papers, and that's not what an accident prevention program or an accident prevention plan is. It is part of it. You need that. You need the textbook with all the answers, so to speak. But it is a culture. It is a core value of your company. Okay, I want you to think about your APP more of just a booklet with that covers some of the safety topics. Okay, think about that a little bit more as a cultural piece to keep your men and women safe in the field. So establish meaning this is yours. This is not something you just go find the template, copy paste, and throw in a binder in a cloud-based system and ready break. This is something you establish by doing certain things like risk assessment, and we'll get into that here in a second. But you want to figure out how to identify the hazards in your workplace for the type and scope of work you do, mitigate those risks, and then supervise. That means train, hold the line in the sand, so to speak, make sure that there's accountability, and that's the supervised enforcement part of your program. Okay. And the state or OSHA uses a term. This is essentially, it comes from OSHA down to the state level. They use a term called effective in practice. Does it work? Do people use it? Does it keep your men and women safe in the field? And that's what that code says. You must establish, supervise, and enforce a program that's effective in practice. Okay. So again, it's more than just a manual. Implementing a comprehensive safety plan, written safety and health program. You refer to this as an APP, safety manual, or safety and health management system. That's kind of the new term that's coming down the pike last few years. It is crucial for making sure your workers are safe. It mitigates risk, which helps, if you were in our EMR class here a couple months ago, this affects your bottom line, right? No claims, lower insurance rates. Okay, so mitigating risk, ensuring regulatory compliance. Your APP should be updated when we have new regulation changes, changes in the forklift rules, changes in wildfire smoke, or heat exhaustion, heat stress. All those changes need to be updated in your accident prevention plan. So again, I want to get across this is way more than just a booklet. Okay, it's a program, it's a cultural piece, it's a core value of your company. Okay. This is custom tailored. This is specific to your company, to the type of work you do. So you
Mhm.
need to build this. Okay. You build this by doing comprehensive risk assessment. What are the hazards that your men and women face in the field? It's going to be different from a framing contractor to an electrical contractor to a plumbing contractor to a roofer, on and on down the line. If you have a very specific set of tasks you do at your construction business, your risks may be very narrow. They may go deep, but they may be very narrow. Okay. You have templates. Again, we'll go into the resources here in the next slide or two, but you have resources available to you through ABC and L&I that has, I would say, pretty close to almost everything you need, but you don't need it all, if that makes sense. You need the stuff that applies to your work. So you throw the stuff out that doesn't apply to you. If you are a contractor that never has to deal with, I don't know, lockout, tagout, like, electrical contractor would, then you shouldn't have that in your APP. Your APP should be tailored to the risks that your men and women face, and that's your risk assessment part. You need to go in and figure out, where are my men and women at risk for having an injury. Okay. The next in building this is developing safe work practices. Okay. That's probably already done for you, in the templates, how to set up an extension ladder, uh, uh, proper tool use, et cetera, on the down the line, fall protection. This is not something you need to recreate, but you use those resources to create your plan. Okay. Implementing effective training and communication. That's part of building this. Establishing incident reporting and accident investigation. Okay. That's a big one. You should, we'll get into this here in a second as well, is, do you have the incident reports either in your cloud-based system or your three-ring binder? Do they know how to use it? Do you have a policy of same-day reporting? Okay. That's part of this. And then the part that gets missed a lot when I meet with employers is the record keeping and documentation. Okay. Um, L&I likes paperwork. If any of you ever been through an investigation, and maybe even received a citation, you know this. They like record keeping and documentation. They are going to ask you, if you ever have an investigation, they will absolutely ask you for your accident prevention plan, and they will go through it and look at it and make sure it's up to date. Okay. They will ask you for your copies of your last 3 months of safety meeting minutes. They're going to ask you for training and education. They're going to ask you for maintenance records of your pieces of equipment, and on down the line. So when you're tailoring your specific APP, make sure that you have procedures and processes in place for record keeping and documentation. So the first thing in your APP should be a letter from ownership outlining employee expectations and responsibilities. It's kind of a welcome letter. Welcome to ABC organization, blah, blah, blah. We expect you to, here's your responsibilities. You're part of our family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then they should sign a document saying, David, indicate that I understand the policies, procedures, blah, 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 contracting, and do agree to abide by the rules and regulations set forth that are in front of me. Okay. That's the first page. That's the cover letter of your APP. Okay. Hazard recognition, prevention, and controls. Okay. This starts to get into a little bit of what I'm not going to talk about today unless we get into it in a discussion. And that's more of the site specific stuff. This is more meant for your basic accident prevention program. When we're talking about site specific, it's a whole new conversation in and of itself. Your APP should cover almost everything that your crew faces, but if you have a particular project that presents unique circumstances, you will have a site specific plan as well. Okay. That kind of goes into JHAs as well. So that is specific from today's discussion. I'm happy to get into that a little bit, but I'm not scheduled to talk about it. But when we talk about hazard recognition, prevention, and controls, that addresses that a little bit. How to identify hazards. It's kind of the stop and look before you do. Sit down for just a second, analyze your surroundings, make sure that you can do it the right way, make sure you have the proper equipment, make sure that it's set up properly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's part of again, your three-ring binder, your cloud-based system, how to recognize hazards and prevent or mitigate risk from those hazards. Okay, safety training and education for those hazards. And again, these are in those templates both at the state level and at the ABC level. And we can go through and I'll show you how to kind of go through those or find that on the website as well after we're done. Okay, emergency procedures. Okay, this again addresses site specific stuff, but if you have a chain of command, who to call? If there's an incident, who am I talking to? Even if it's a near hit, near miss, what are the procedures of communication? And again, how to fill out an incident report. Okay, and then the last one, and this gets missed a lot. Okay, and this goes back to when I talk about compliance, how to access and use it. I guarantee you, if you have an investigation and they're going to come out and look at your APP, not only are they going to look at that binder, but they're going to ask to interview employees on that job site. Do you know where your APP is? Is it in the job trailer? Is it on your phone? Is it on a tablet? How do you access your company's accident prevention plan? I would say the majority of the employers that I work with, the employees don't use it or don't even know where it is. And that's again tragic to me. Okay. Because this is the little icon I have in the upper left-hand corner. Your APP is your solution manual to the hazards your men and women face. If they forget how to do something, how to set up a ladder, how to use this, how to use that, how to mitigate risk, they go to that solution manual, your APP, to find the answer. And if they don't know how to access it or how to use it, then it's worthless. You could have the best APP in the world. You went through, everything's updated. If they don't know how to access it, how to use it, it's worthless. Okay. So this should be frequent conversations in your weekly toolbox talks. You should pull out your APP. When you're talking about, I keep going back to ladder safety, but let's talk about fall. If you're going to fall protection, okay, and we're going to talk about fall restraint or fall arrest, you should pull out your accident prevention plan, open it up and say, guys, here's our fall protection plan in our APP. When we're working at heights, this is how we mitigate that. Okay. Show them how to use it. Show them where it is. Open it frequently. It shouldn't be that manual that just collects dust. Okay. Any questions? Quiet this morning. Okay, and now your resources. If you go to lni.gov and you search APP and then go down to construction, you will find a template, LNI's template for their accident prevention plan. Okay. As well, if we go to ABC Western Washington, westernwashington.org. In fact, why don't we just do that real quick? We're on ABC's website. It's abcwestwa.org. If we go over to safety programs, okay, we go down to safety library, click on that. This is something you can get from Will, your username, ABC West member, ABC Western Washington member, and then I forget what the password is. I've got it saved, but Will Crithers will give you that if you're a Western Washington member. And even if you're an IPC member, I'm sure that they could share this. We log in. It's just their disclaimer. And we go down to accident prevention. And there's actually toolbox talks as well as policies. We go down to policies. There's a PDF template as well as a doc template that allows you to edit it. And this has everything in it. Okay. So you can insert your company logo there. It has your table of contents. And so this is the template you guys use. Again, don't just copy and paste everything here. Pull out the components that are specific to your company. Make those yours. If you need to beef them up, you can. But throw the pieces out that don't apply to you. This should be specific to the hazards that your company faces. So again, those are the resources. We just showed you how to get onto the abcwestwa.org into their library accident prevention and policies.
Sorry,
Again,
David, I'm going to
yeah, go ahead,
interrupt.
Dustin.
So just say, so where, okay, everybody's supposed to have access. What are you saying that this is located?
You
Should there
go
be one on each website? I mean,
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry,
the
a
yeah,
job site? Or should there
Yes.
be one on each job site? Should there be one in the
Yep.
office? Should there be?
So yep. If actually, this brings up a good point. I kind of didn't get to there yet, but if you look right here, I'm sorry, I don't know if you see my cursor, but let's just read that statement. Remember, at the bottom, I'll get to it's the last four words of that statement. Remember, strong APP goes above and beyond compliance. It's more than just a manual, right? It's tailored to the needs of your company and to the types of hazards involved. Okay. It addresses every hazard your men and women face. This is communicated to each employee, trained, taught. Okay. Teach it, preach it, and is readily available to all. So that, Dustin, should answer your question. Now, I have companies that use a cloud-based system. They use Procore. So you can access it from your phone. You can access it from your tablet. I still think paper. I understand technology and that's the way the world's going to is cloud-based systems, but my mind still thinks paper. So I apologize when I say this, but it should be in a three-ring binder in every service van and every job trailer. So if you have two guys, Dustin, going out to a job site in one of your flying colors vans, there should be access on every job site. So if that means that you need to put it in a cloud-based system or you need to have it in a three-ring binder in those vans, that's what it means. It's readily available. They can access it at any time. They don't need to drive back to the shop to get it. Okay. When I think of a ground build-up construction site, it's in every Connex trailer. Okay. But again, the reality is that most of the contractors I'm working with are putting it in a cloud-based system to where they can access it from a phone, and that makes it easy. It does. But I understand that some of the smaller organizations don't want to subscribe to some of the software systems and they still use paper. Just make sure that everybody in the field and the office for that matter, you should always have one in your office for sure, your place of business, but everybody in the field should be able to access it at any point in time. Okay. Does that answer your question? Yeah, thank you, Dustin. It's a good point. I mean, again, you kind of beat me to the punch, but readily available all is and I should add at any time. Okay. They shouldn't have to, let's just say let's go back to our safety data sheets. You have a chemical spill. They shouldn't have to drive back to the office to figure out how to handle a spill. They should be able to run to the van. Okay, I need to clean it up with this. It's water soluble. I can use water. Oh no, I need to use, cat litter, baking soda, whatever it is. Okay. But you get the point. They should be able to find the answer quickly. It goes back to this slide. It's your solution manual up in the upper right-hand corner there. It has the answers to all the questions when it comes to risks in the field. Okay. Thank you, Dustin. I appreciate that. Okay, let's talk about safety orientations. Okay. What are we doing in our safety orientation? This is somebody who's just coming to the organization before they go on the job site. What are we talking about? We're talking about the basic components of our safety program, our accident prevention program. Okay. So I use the term formal, and I don't mean you need to put on a suit, dress up, have tea and crumpets. Formal means do it in your office because the job site is a living, breathing beast. Things happen. And if you have a superintendent that you rely on to run the safety orientation on the job site, that superintendent is being pulled in different directions and things get missed. Okay. So by formal safety orientation, I mean do it in your office where you have a controlled environment to go over and set expectations. Okay. It's conducted by ownership or upper level management. Okay. And there's where we have that signed document, a signed document indicating understanding of all company policies and procedures regarding safety is on file. And again, my recommendation is you renew that every year. There's no rule behind that. It's just a recommendation. Okay. For the reasons we just discussed. Does that make sense? The one thing I would hit home here is do this in an environment that is controlled. Okay. Do it in your boardroom, do it around a table, before they step foot on the job site. Okay. Walk them through, and we'll get into the things that you're going to talk about here in a second, but walk them through some of the basics of your self-tailored accident prevention plan. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. One of the most impactful speeches you can make. Let's go back real quick to this slide where I have employee expectations and responsibilities. Okay. The reason I highlighted that is because of this slide right here. I call it the right responsibility speech. If you've ever been to any of my other trainings, you're going to hear me talk about this ad nauseum. The right responsibility speech is probably one of the most impactful things you can do for your employees prior to them ever stepping foot on the job site, because you're giving them the same power as you have or anybody else in that company when it comes to safety. Okay, let's talk about what each one means. Right means I get to. It's a privilege, it's a permission. I'm giving you the right. I'm giving you the permission to say time out when you see something. It's the see something, say something, right? I'm giving you the permission. You have the right. Responsibility is I have the expectation that you will do it. So right means you get to. Responsibility means you have to. Okay. And what do I mean by that? Why am I bringing this up? Because if I'm on a job site, I've got your back. If I see something that's not safe, I'm going to call timeout. But I also expect you to have my back. Okay. This is a huge cultural piece in your organization because everybody's watching out for everybody else. And that starts at the top with the owner of the company and goes all the way down to your newest hire. It's the same level of power. And you talk about that right off the bat when you're doing your safety orientation. Almost before they even sit their butt down in a chair, as we're giving you the right, you're part of our family now. But we also expect you to. If you see something that doesn't look safe, we want you to bring it to our attention because one of two things have happened. One, they've just potentially stopped a potential incident from happening, or there is a learning component. They've just learned why it is okay to do it this way, and here's why. So they've either learned something new on a proper policy procedure, et cetera, or they have averted potentially a workplace related injury or incident. Okay. That makes sense? Right responsibility speech. Make sure that they understand that they have the permission, but you have an expectation of them to stop work and say, I don't feel comfortable because I see something that doesn't look right. Okay. It's the see something, say something concept. That makes sense to everybody? Any comments on that?
Have you ever have you ever seen that abused? I mean, I don't really imagine it would be abused, but have you seen
Um,
workers that abuse it?
Being that I'm not on the job site all the time, I have not, but I can tell you of a couple real life instances where it worked really well. I'm sitting around a safety meeting. This is probably the second year I was in this position. I'm sitting in on a safety meeting, and a kid who's probably, I don't know, maybe 2 months into the job, so fairly new employee, laborer, he hasn't even developed skills yet, kind of sheepishly put his hand up in the safety meeting and brought up, I feel like we have a problem with extension cords running down the middle of the hall. I keep tripping and falling, and I've banged my knee a couple times. Is there a way we can fix that? And all of a sudden, everybody else yeah, me too, me too, me too. All these seasoned veterans. So you had one kid who had, enough kahunas to say, I see something that doesn't look right. And the next day they've got the extension cords on hangers running down the hallway. That's culture, okay? And it illustrates the point of, hey, we're all in this together, regardless of our level of expertise, our level of skill. And if we all feel comfortable enough mentioning things, and this is where I call it the responsibility. You've got to let them know that I expect you to, I am very okay. I'm okay with you doing it. That's the right side, but I expect you to. That's the responsibility side. If you set that expectation and that safety orientation before they ever step foot on the job site, I I want you to bring stuff to our attention. Okay, so let's talk about in your safety orientations, just some of the basics here. And this isn't an end all be all, but this is basically some of the core things that you should be talking about. Um, One is, not in any particular order, is incident reporting. Okay, review where the document is, how to find it, how to fill it out, and your policy. And we've talked about this in the past of same day reporting. And by that I mean You want to at least hear about somebody who bonked themselves or pulled their back, even though if they don't feel like they need to go to the doctor, you at least want to know about it because you're trying to minimize your potential exposure to what I call the weekend warrior injury, the non-work related injury. So make sure that you're setting the expectation in that new higher safety orientation of same day communication at the very least. Okay. Key safety demonstrations. I do not expect you to show them how to set up an extension ladder on the side of your office. I do expect you to show them how to put on and fit a harness properly because it's not the easiest thing in the world. I used to be the guy that crawled up on my roof, did Christmas lights, cleaned out gutters before I did this job without fall protection. I love my family too much to not do it. Okay, so the first time I went and bought the rope grab and a bucket from Home Depot and put on a harness, it was terrible. It wasn't fit properly. It took me almost 20 minutes to get this in place until I took a fall protection class. Okay. Show them how to put on the harness the right way. If you use respirators, Dustin, I don't know if you use respirators in your place of business, show them how to do a negative fit test. Okay. Basic key safety demonstrations when it comes to basic personal protective equipment. Okay. Do that in the office, not on job site because things get missed on the job site. You're handing out their PPE that you provide, okay, at the safety orientation. Your policies, not L&I's, not OSHA's, but your policies regarding PPE are reviewed, okay? This is what your expectations are. And then emergency procedures, clearly defined for the team and individual, the flow of communication, the chain of command. And again, some of this is site specific. So some of this may be delegated to when they get on the job site, but make sure they understand what is expected of them if there is an issue, an emergency, et cetera, et cetera.